domains was low. Doma changing the game. One bridge, one standard, now the systems move the same. Registrar, stay central, keep the trust and control. DNS and compliance, still they play the key role. Traded on chain, let new markets arise. Domain value unlocked. Welcome to DomainFi.
Welcome to Doma on Air. We are live from Dominion 2026. We've done this show remote for 4 or 5 episodes now. Now we're doing it live first time. Several guests today, actually. We're going to be cycling through in and out and give you the update, kind of a recap from the conference, and maybe we price some alpha out of these gentlemen. But before we get started, I'd love to go around the horn here and just introduce our guests. And we'll do this a couple times as guests cycle in and out. But Todd, you mind starting? Just a brief introduction of yourself and any background you'd care to share?
Thanks, Chris. My name's Todd Ryan. I'm primarily a domain investor, but I do work at a law firm, partner there, where we handle a lot of domain disputes. We handle, right now, today this window opens for this next round of GTLDs. I won't go too deep into that, but primarily, I would say domain investor, and we'll talk about why good fit for domain investors, partnering with Doma and why we're here.
Awesome, awesome. Andre?
Yeah, my name is Andriy Khvetkevich. I'm originally from Ukraine. You can call me Andrew if it's easier. And in domain name industry, I'm more than 20 years. In Ukraine, we have nick.ua. It's the largest registrar in Ukraine. And 2 years ago, we launched nicknames.com, which is a US registrar, and we're targeting the whole world, now not only Ukraine. And we also work on the first RSP that will be fully blockchain compatible RSP for new GTLD round.
Very cool, very cool. Vibhu?
Yeah, I'm Vibhu, and I lead marketing and product for the Solana Foundation. Solana is a $50 billion crypto network that's working with Doma and D3 on DAVs.
Very cool. So I guess if you don't mind, we'll start with you. Solana, millions of wallets on Solana. Does it matter, like .sol, the DNS? Does that, like, thoughts on that as far as, how important is that for the looking forward?
The .sol GTLD?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we did talk on stage today briefly about it. We are working on .sol and .solana, mostly to protect our trademarks, but we have a pretty active ecosystem of founders. There's more than 10,000 entrepreneurs that are building on Solana today, and so I think we're hopeful that some of them will land their, we call them DApps in crypto, decentralized applications, will land their products on .sol domain.
Very cool. Deep in the crypto Web3 space myself, and kind of gotten immersed into the domain world here recently. I found it really interesting. It's kind of like a mix of Web 2 and Web 3. I don't know if you got a chance to interact with any others, or just thoughts on like the mix of a conference like this.
Yeah, it was. I've never been to a domain event or met domainers in real life. I've bought and sold a lot of domains in my life, just as a hobby. And then at the Solana Foundation, we've certainly gone out and acquired our fair share of domains over the years. No, it's really unique. I think of domains as the OG digital asset. It's how I got into collecting and kind of somewhere in the journey of degeneracy from flipping domain names to NFTs and tokens and so. But yeah, and it's really awesome to see these two worlds collide. I think I think the whole domain industry will be in crypto in the next couple of years, if we can do our jobs right.
Agreed. Yeah, it just seems, I don't want to say inevitable, but it seems to be inevitable. You got such a organic crossover from a digitally native asset, bringing it on chain. You mentioned someday there's actually several talks. Pokemon got mentioned in the conversation. These RWAs. So you're thinking you got domains and Pokemon. Put you on the spot a little bit. As looking forward, any even ideas or speculation what might be the next, whether it be digitally native or more of a traditional real world asset that you could see emerging in the on-chain environment?
Yeah, I mentioned Pokemon cards. I mentioned dinosaur fossils.
Yeah, wild.
A lot of people came up to ask me about that. Yeah, there's a long tail of exotic assets that don't have a ton of liquidity or active secondary marketplaces, or they're very fragmented in some fashion. Of good candidates for tokenization. I think domains are in that kind of list. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen so many interesting ideas. You just kind of look at the largest markets in the world. Honestly, the biggest liquid market is still private companies. I think we have a lot of work to do to bring like every single business on chain in some fashion. Like if you have equity in your business, there should be a token. If you have revenue, there should be a token. If you have cash flow, there should be a token. We're still like in that process. That's hundreds of trillions of dollars locked up in private markets and banks. That's where most of this will be, but there's certainly like a lot of fun stuff along the way too.
It's exciting, exciting. Todd, how about yourself? Biggest takeaway from the conference this week?
Well, first I want to say he had a great session today representing Solana, and I think with the community and great move, to apply for the GTLD, and I wish him much success there. I really like the idea of we're going to provide all sorts of things, security. I mean, it's just wonderful. And when he mentioned the domain industry, getting into crypto, we're hoping the crypto industry gets into domains. And when you were talking dinosaur fossils, I was like, that's what they call us old, and he was saying he was a boomer. I said, no, we're really booming over here. But no, about taking away from this. So a lot of us, we're lucky. Some of us invested in domains 25, 30 years ago. So we were buying these names. Some of the guys here are smarter than others, getting some of the really good stuff. So investing in some of these names, we have great names, and we've been doing it 25 years. So we maybe registered it for $10, and now it's 25 years later, we only got $250 in it. Still a very low cost basis, and some of these names are 5 figures, 6, 7 figures. So now we've always wanted, there's been different attempts of, fractionalizing names, selling off shares, and of course, really sensitive because it can't be a security. So there's different ways people have tried to do this. Now it's really being patient now with tokenization, and of course, then after tokenizing, we can fractionalize. That's really, my takeaway from this. One, great food, but really just always at these events, and I go to plenty of them, mostly, the domain side, and go to some of the crypto, but it's building the relationships and then deciding, some of these guys you end up doing business with later, in bigger ways, but really straight from Doma, the plan was, right before I got here, Chris was saying, hey, we have portfolios of domain names, buckets, so like maybe a niche, maybe it's 3-letter, or a portfolio of 4-letter, or a portfolio of cannabis names, or names that have loop in them, basically niche, but a bucket of names, and then these, maybe a crypto investor is like, hey, you guys slick, you're experts over there, right, in the domain space. Well, I'm not able to go back 25 years and get some of these names, but I'd like to own a piece of them, make it worth my while, basically, a good valuation. But Doma is really doing all that. So now we went from tokenizing a single name to allowing people to come in and take part ownership, and now we're going to start doing buckets. But so I'm just beyond excited about bringing people in. Still plan on owning 80% of my portfolio, but now some others who've always wanted to say, hey, invest in this niche of cannabis names that have never been available before. Some of the top stuff, they're going to have the opportunity, and we're going to make it really seamless by being able to buy tokens on the protocol.
Yeah, very cool. Was that, safe to say, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but safe to say that was one of maybe the more, they launched a few new products at the conference this week.
Yeah.
Probably the thing you're most excited about is the bundle, the DL of multiple names. Like, is that something that you're moving forward with in a portfolio?
One, because I think as the investor, especially new investors, they like to invest in a mutual fund, a type of a fund. So you're thinking, I don't know which one to select. Of course, I love what Braden did with alert.ai. I love that type of name. But when you're investing in, say, a portfolio of 100 names, it's really more activity for you. So you're the investor. Hey, so one of them did sell. We didn't wait 3 years for these effing things to sell. So us domainers, we'll wait. I just sold a name recently, 18-year hold. So you really have to be patient. For some of these new investors, and especially in the crypto space, people like activity. They want to see some action a little bit. So buying into a portfolio, then you can say, hey, one of the names did sell. There's distribution for whatever percentage of ownership you have in the tokens, but it really just activity. And it really just makes sense too, because there's a lot of the guys in the domain space will say is, I guess today we heard, all the non-publish non-public sales, there's a lot of great single word names that have never even had reasonable offers for the years. So there's a lot of stuff that doesn't sell. And they don't want to say it's a tough industry. You got to know, what names to own, what costs to get in them at, and really how to price them. And so I think it's bottom line, it's great for some of the less experienced investors to say, hey, so you guys are sort of more experienced managing that portfolio, and now you're letting us in on it. Come on.
Yep, very cool, very cool. Andre, how about yourself? What excited you the most about Dominion this week?
I'm excited that between blockchain and domain names, there's a lot of synergy because blockchain, like if you think about domain names resolving IP addresses, right? It's in the past. Right now, domains resolving wallets, smart contracts, so other type of address, and it's chain. And when a domain is tokenized, it has the full trace of everything. So it's on chain and it's resolving IP addresses and wallets and assets and everything in there. And also you can fractionalize it, trade it, and it could be like any business right now. It's a domain name. Like if you think about any business right now, it's a domain name. So Hilton will be not Hilton without Hilton.com. Just an example, right? And any of this asset could be tokenized, put on chain, fractionalized, and make more money for any business. So that's why I'm like really fascinated on this synergy. And that's why we're thinking about also the first registry service provider who can register domains originally on chain and compatible fully with ICANN rules. And in this case, it will be tokenized from the root. It will be not tokenized on the registrar level. It will be tokenized on registry level, and it's more safe. And it's not existing. And today, opened window to apply for RSP, apply for GTLD, and we're still raising money because we're a little bit short for that, but we're ready to apply as a RSP.
Very cool, very cool. Vibha, I think there was some talk about AI agents today. I'm curious just your high-level thoughts on whether we're talking domains or where you see AI agents fitting into on-chain technologies as we move forward. I don't know specifically from whether it be the foundation's viewpoint or just maybe even high-level forward thinking about how agents may play in the domain world.
Yeah, I personally think we're in like started really in January with some major advancements with LLM models. You probably heard about Cloud Code and Codex from ChatGPT from OpenAI. I think we have like a 3-year window here where there's a massive platform shift happening again, very similar to the internet and then mobile phones. What's happening is all of our activity on our computers is moving into a chat interface with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and everyone's workflows are moving into that as well. All the software is basically being consumed by AI, and so it's kind of hard for us to imagine that you're going to have that impact in all software and not see the same impact in finance. So if I fast forward past this window, what will the world look like? Very clearly, people will be living their financial lives, letting their AI agents or their LLM make financial decisions for them, pay people, transfer money, make trades, and all that kind of stuff. And I think those tools will be more sophisticated than what users typically have access to. I was giving an example today. If you buy NVIDIA through your brokerage account, what happens on the other side of that is typically not a human picking up your order. You have HFT, high frequency trading systems, a lot of automated systems that are increasingly AI based as your kind of counterparty for those. And we think everyone should have access to the same kinds of tools. And so, yeah, basically we think all payments probably will start to be made by agents or humans using commanding LLMs, and all trading as well. And so yeah, we're like kind of all in and trying to map out what the world looks like, and then build tools for enable our ecosystem to kind of compete in all these different ways domains fit in. I think there's like some obvious things, and then some questions that we should ask. The obvious thing is we're just producing more software, and that software needs a place to live. I was just observing on our own domain activity over the last year. There's just so many more things that we need to bring to market. We need good names for those, and so we've been like very active in the domain, buying domains left and right. So many domains we've been acquiring and inquiring about. So I think that's a clear thing that's happening right now. I think the question to solve is, okay, if I'm sitting in ChatGPT and asking it to do something, I'm not clicking on anything. I'm not clicking on websites. I'm not, and so there's a trust issue that needs to be solved there. But domains still convey a lot of trust. If you have a good domain, you can see the sourcing, and when you ask it for shopping advice, it'll tell you like where did that come from.
Yep.
I still think the domain plays a role in there, yeah, I don't know. I think it's similar to the mobile stuff, right? Because in mobile, people were worried about domains. Okay, I'm going to search on the App Store. I don't need to go to a website. That kind of like didn't really materialize as a risk, at least from my observation. So it might be in a similar fashion, like, yeah.
That's kind of an aha moment for me today, though, talking about like with the advent of the App Store and the proliferation of the App Store, people go on apps more over than mobile websites or websites in general, and now as we lean more into these LLMs, and it's kind of a reemergence of the importance of a domain versus what previously would have looked at an app. Now it's like maybe you don't even need a mobile app.
I mean, I think the thing that the two like facts of AI that are just kind of mind blowing is like ChatGPT, I think, is no more than 3 or 4 years old. You can imagine, and it has like 800 million monthly active users. That's like more than 10% of the entire planet already, and we've never seen something like this in our lives, like in terms of the impact on every part of how we live. So to say that like these things won't have change something is kind of false. I think it's just a matter of like figuring out what things will change for the better and which things maybe get a little worse. But I think domains come out probably just fine. There's just so many more things being built, and I can't really get over that. I think every single one of those products needs some place to live. It's not going to live on an IP address. It's 2026, so yeah, I would be like long-term bullish on domains.
Yeah. Todd, I know we don't have to ask you if you're long-term bullish on domains or not, but any besides the food, I said on the record, it was the best food I've ever had at a conference. I don't think it's particularly close. We were last night at dinner like, we might have some like small bites or something, and end up with full-blown surf and turf. But outside of the food and the portfolios, if you will, for that Doma's launching, anything else that stood out to you, whether it be the content, I'm curious, like your thoughts on the mix of people from Web 2, Web 3. Like, is that, you've been to some of these conferences before? Is that changing, like the mix of people at a domain conference like this?
Well, absolutely, and some of the new contacts, and I think going to be new business partners. A couple gentlemen one came from the Bitcoin conference, other from the Predictive conference, and I think I was glad to see. I know you were a little reserved earlier when you were saying about we're out there buying domains, because you say that at a domain conference, and we're like, hey, what's going on?
I got approached by plenty of
right, and we have just what you need.
Yeah.
But I've always been, I think, one of the not the most bullish, because domain investors, when you come to a conference like this, they think not only is AI, you get stronger every year. Domain. If you ask domain investors, they think that all the shit we had years ago that was worth 10,000, it's worth 10 million. It's going to be worth 100 million. I mean, a lot of domain investors always believe that things just keep going up. I've always been one who thinks, I do watch the top end. I always think, is the first to go up, the last to go down in our space with regards to the most premium names. But I think there's just so many alternatives, and we've seen over the years the adopting of other extensions. things have changed now. .ai, but you were mentioning .xyz, willing to build on it, and smart, well, yeah, sometimes people still go to the .com, and then sometimes we have issues with the name resolving because it's an extension on a certain browser, but just things have changed. So the adoption really is always a concern to me about the value of if you have a portfolio of a lot of .com names. I wanted to say quickly about AI. A couple of my partners, they're the smart guys. I'm just the guy who's like, hey, I like to be part of stuff. But I was gonna say, so we're building AI broker is a name we're building out because it was really brokering domain names. Why AI agents, smarter than the people? Why can't we just give the AI broker a name, and then it can know how to find appropriate appraisals, how to price it, who to contact, and I don't need it to spit back to me. Here's a list of people to contact. Go contact it. You contact it. Basically, here's my routing number and my bank number. Just close the deal, put the money in it. But it really is getting there. Yeah, yeah. Well, right. He said he knows I'm real old school routing number. But hey, and listen. So I did found a company called Pay Now, and we use the X402. But listen, I'm realistic too. Everybody still wants to pay the old way. Soon as you go own crypto. But you were mentioning it about IP addresses. We try to do some real advanced things where you're a business, you should just get paid right on that domain name. And that domain name, you certainly can, except the old school people that are running businesses are like, I don't want to enable DNSSEC and put in this bullshit. So we set up systems that allow it, but still it's a little ahead. But anyway, Chris, I think now we're just super excited about Web 2 and Web 3. We've never really, I just consider it, we're all business guys. Some of us got involved at different times. And now, the domain names, I appreciate the original digital asset. The domains are limited in a sense, and we're very welcoming to, basically learn about what we had. It's going to take you fucking no time. I mean, it's finite, this domain business. We're really ones having to get up to speed on, Web 3, really some of the newer technologies. But no, this has just been a really fantastic event. Everyone been here. Some of the guys that are going to be coming up soon after us are going to mention that. We were all really impressed.
Awesome. Well, it's been great to meet you. I appreciate your time today. Andre, we'll go to you for one more, and I think Fred and Inder are going to join Vibu and I next. You were talking a pre-show, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but you're talking about like even a podcast using an AI voice of yourself. Yep. As you think about this conference and kind of this merge of Web 2 and Web 3, anything that jumps out to you in terms of what bringing these domains on-chain unlocks in terms of new capabilities or what you might be able to do going forward that you haven't been able to do in the past?
Yeah, it's a very good question because AI right now changing everything. My opinion that very soon websites in that look that we have right now, they will not exist anymore because people want different interfaces. When we launched on nicknames, the chatbot that manages your domains, people stopped using other services that we have. They just ask AI, point my domain to Doma. That's it. They don't have to learn right now what is DNSSEC, what is MX records, what's TXT records and other things. They just talk to AI. And what's going to happen next, AI agents on Solana will decide which domain to register through our CLI, for example. So they will have their own interface to interact with the registrar and pay with USDT, for example. So this is all, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think it will happen very quick because AI right now generating millions of new products, websites, and again, all the websites that they're generating, they are more and more new way created. So one of the websites that we're testing internally has a possibility to add new language on the website within 1 hour.
Wow.
When we can add 50 languages within like 2 days. So it's another thing that unlocking right now with AI. And we're thinking right now how to interact with our users in a new way because users will not want to go through the settings or other things in just few months.
Yeah, that's really interesting to think about how the global reach just expands so much more rapidly, and then you factor in crypto payments and the crypto rails. It makes those cross-border payments, and just it takes us from a very, I guess in this case, U.S.-centric approach from websites to payments to, with AI, really global, overnight almost.
Yeah, and when we launched crypto payments, our crypto payments now is like 40-60% now per month. So it's like it's growing really fast, and people using it more and more and more because adoption is wider. So like, and also we have clients from some countries where Visa is not working, and they come into us because we accept crypto. So it's
Very cool.
other things.
Very cool. Well, Andre, Todd, really appreciate your time today. We're gonna swap you out for Fred and Inder. Gonna join Vibhu and I here, and we'll continue the conversation. But a quick reset for those of you tuned in. You can drop your questions in the chat. We will do our best to get them, routed to us here throughout the show as we go. But bear with us if we don't answer your questions right away. But feel free to drop your questions, your comments in the chat, and we'll do our best to get through all the questions before we wrap up today. Stepping in here, we got Inder, the VP of Product and Technology for Doma, as well as our fearless leader, Fred. I got to ask you, what was your takeaway, your thoughts on the conference? Exceed your expectations, pleased with the overall event?
Yeah, I mean, I think that having such great guests speaking this year, I mean, definitely every year I can see it year by year now, kind of bridging the two worlds, Web3 and Web2 together, is becoming much more reality. That's awesome, especially with guests like Vibhu and the other ones. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Inder, I know you had a chance. I really enjoyed the panel today. How about yourself? What was your biggest takeaway from Domain? Was anything that was unexpected for you?
The fact that AI.com sold without an escrow.
You're right.
Like someone literally took a $70 million asset and YOLO'd it. Like
I could already see the beads of sweat coming from the guys, from the guy whoever was involved in transferring its forehead, because we've all been there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. I was, Vibhu, I think it was you mentioned talking about the example of 99% of transactions on chain will be done by agents, and that's probably an understatement. Is that right? Is that?
Yeah, probably 99.99, 4 nines, I guess, if not more. Yeah.
It's wild. I guess for you guys, is this happening? I guess this blockchain domains, and then you add on AI agents. Feels like it's just accelerating everything that is being built. Any surprises? Anything that you weren't expecting that's happening faster, maybe with AI or otherwise?
I mean, a pleasant surprise, I think, as Vibhu mentioned, is that now over 66% of or more of agentic commerce is happening across stablecoins, and they're happening across stablecoins on Solana. That's actually surprising, but it's actually not actually surprising if you think about all the volume already happening these days, because developers and domainers alike, they want it easy,
Yep. And from a product standpoint, other than the AI.com selling transferred with no escrow, anything that you're excited about, but after seeing kind of the reception from the audience, any of the new products, or maybe you want to hit on for those who tuned in that didn't get a chance to hear yet, any new products launched from Doma this week at Dominion that you want to share with the audience today?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think even going back to payments, I feel like this is what Web3 was all about, right? Like back in the day, payments were done through cash. Web 2.0, it's all e-commerce. E-commerce now eats cash in most places, and that's how Web3 will be. And with each layer, it just keeps growing and growing more, right? So I think for me, AI, Web3, it's pretty much the same thing. I don't think those are two different systems, right? You cannot have an agent paying for anything without having trust. Trust, what do you think? Domains, right? That's where premium names, non-premium names comes in. So, we announced a few things over the past 48 hours, but I think for what I'm most excited about is basketization, right? It's like a step function. You bring literally millions of names on chain, on Solana, and everyone gets to participate in that, right? This is inventory no one has ever been able to touch, right? I keep giving this example. I give you $10,000. What do you do with it? You find a broker, you buy a small name. That's about it. That's going to change. Once those names are on chain, they get agentic wallets? How do they do payments? How do they trade? Everything will be on chain, will be on Doma, will be on Solana.
Yeah, speaking of on-chain, I think it was, well, I won't name the name, but I believe another CEO in the domain business said that like something to the effect that like crypto naming or blockchain naming was a fad or a craze that just never crossed the chasm. I guess thoughts on that? Like, agree, disagree?
Yeah, I call them Web3 names. I always have. I've never actually called them Web3 domains because it's kind of like an oxymoron, right? So either something's a domain name, like the internet, right, and it works across 5 billion plus users, every device, every phone, powers satellites in the sky, I promise, or it's a Web3, handle. And there's great communities like ENS, like that sort of proliferate some of these handles, but call something for what it is and not confuse it, right?
Yep. Fair. Vibhu, how about yourself? Anything? We talked a lot about agents, talked about this bringing domains on chain. Anything that was, I guess, unexpected to you or surprise? What you're most excited to take away from the conference this week?
Well, I honestly, being here, I had like 100 ideas for the domain space because I think I actually care about this stuff a lot and use. I own personally like way too many domains. My wife's yelling at me for the reg fees every year. I have to write them off. Yeah, I think we literally just closed the sale on escrow.com today, and I was thinking like it's just so like how is this even how this works in 2026? I should be able to put we bought a domain for 45K. I should be able to put the 45K in USDC in an escrow contract, and then just have the domain available right away without all the shenanigans of transfer and all that kind of stuff. There's like way too much trust and human in the loop, and it's very expensive. And then I was thinking about just hearing the stories about, or just talking about AI and I think the domain industry needs to figure out how to make secondary as easy as primary, because when you ask your LLM, if you have a new vibe, whatever, to go out and pick a name for itself, Vercel and Railway and all these developer tools that are very abstract, all the infrastructure, make it very simple to buy or register a new domain, right? You might ask it for an idea, and it will just go find something that's available, but it's not going to bring in all the domains that all your clients are trying to sell. I think that's just like an interface issue, and I hope maybe you guys are going to be like solving stuff like that. But
I think part of it will be like baskets, because with a basket you literally bring those locked portfolios on chain, and then every basket will have like its own like skills and everything, right?
I like that idea.
This is what like even Fred was saying, right? Like naming is still going to matter, right? My agent will need a name, no different from my website and IP address. It will need a wallet. So today you can set up literally an agent with a wallet and have it autonomously buy a secondary name, set up its website, change the DNS, and never leave the chain, like ever.
Yeah,
like end to end.
Yeah, and you and I were also having a conversation about sovereign apps. I think this is something. This is maybe like a step beyond where the domain industry is today. But in crypto, we talk about like sovereignty, like user owning their own money, but also entities owning their own money and owning their own assets on chain. There is like this unsolved problem in crypto, which is I can decentralize the protocol, but who owns the domain name? Like if I have a lot of users, I have a decentralized site or app or swapping whatever interface, but some company owns the domain name. There's risk there, and so I think like basically I'm coming away from this thinking actually there's I think the idea that domains aren't going to be important is very, very false. In fact, like I can think of 1,000 ways in which they're more important than ever, and from sovereign apps to vibe coding. I was thinking today about have you seen? This is pretty insane, but this year on GitHub, which is where most developers host their software, I think in the last couple of months they've had more new repositories than the rest of GitHub all time. It's been around for 20 years.
Wow.
How many of those you think were submitted by humans versus agents?
They're
It's all agents.
100% AI, and like all these things need domains. So I think I just think there's a lot to look forward to for the industry.
No,
to be honest.
I'm not kidding. You sit on any table, there's a guy like who would have never coded with Claude behind the scenes on their laptop, on their phones, like normal people, and they're all like pushing out those vibe coded apps in the domain somewhere.
What's the risk in this? What is the like? I guess it's like kind of wild. I mean, I was aware, I guess maybe kind of yes the LLMs, but then OpenClaw kind of kicked off this, the GitHub explosion. I guess what could happen, or what are we missing? Anything like keeps you up at night when you think about AI taking over and doing so much coding, and not that it's replacing the devs. I think good devs are becoming more and more efficient, but anything that keeps you up at night, anything that concerns you with so much, I guess, AI code?
Just FOMO.
Yeah.
Like everyone on earth is like, this is the time to build.
Yep.
This is the only time to build. Like we're at the cusp of like something groundbreaking. So missing out, but I don't know. Yeah, Fred.
Yeah, I think I heard. I mean, this gets into another point, right? I think there's sort of on this whole like trust concept around agents too, right? You obviously have payments, right, through things like X402. There's also things like discoverability as well, right? But ultimately, domain names are great in my opinion because they're timeless. They bound everything together. They're ultimately universal endpoints, right? Are you going to trust a scammy agent or agentic workflow, or are you going to trust something that maybe, hey, your friends and your parents or whatever may be using and that's actually doing stuff, right? So I think that's interestingly a missing paradigm currently. I'm curious what Vibhu thinks about maybe discoverability and trust as sort of add-ons, if you will, to the agentic economy.
Discoverability of like apps and things like that.
Yeah,
is
like
what you
this,
mean?
all the stuff that's being submitted to GitHub, like, today.
Yeah, I guess like if I were to try to draw like a market for, I had the domain hat on, but so there is like proliferation of basically slop in all dimensions, media and
Cat videos.
posts like and so like because there's so much abundance of everything, like the two things that are happening kind of at a macro level are one is like things have a very short shelf life, so like I could build a great app, pick a great domain, and then 24 hours later nobody cares about it anymore. So how much am I willing to invest in that? And then two, like, just tells you the fight for attention is greater. It will just continue to get, harder and harder and harder. And so, I think, so like at a bar, I think there'll be way more domain registrations than ever before. I wouldn't be surprised if this year is like a all-time high with like 10x maybe. I don't know where it is today, but that would be my, just knowing nothing, my guess. And then the value of the ultra premium stuff where you're fighting for attention, a company has resources and needs to win, they're not going to be afraid to spend because that's how we feel about it. So I guess other entities probably feel similarly.
Not to put you on the spot and fully respect, no comment, but able to share the domain you purchased today, or
I can't because we're launching a new product in the agent payment space with this domain. It's really down to the wire in like 5 days.
He wants to get the domain name now because if it gets
They gave me the wrong
revealed,
transfer code.
it's
though,
going to
so
go up
I don't
10x.
know. I might have gotten scammed.
any others maybe recently that you've launched a product from a recent domain purchase? Anything you can speak to?
Yeah. I shared it with a few people today. We launched tokens.xyz and might have set a record on XYZ for that purchase.
Wow.
But we initially tried to buy tokens.com. We got sniped by Bed Bath & Beyond of all things. And I just wanted to share to the seller that like we were willing to spend like 2x what we bid.
Wow.
And they shut down the sale process way too soon. They should have let us get in there. But so tokens XYZ, and then we launched treasury.org, and then we've got a couple other ones coming too. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Now that you say that, I would be almost shocked if it's not a record year for domains, just with so much, to your point, like there's going to be 10x that not just GitHub, but everything is accelerating, right? Right.
Yeah, we might have offers on like, I don't know, a couple dozen things that we're chasing down.
Very
we don't
cool.
expect all of them to happen, but yeah, we're always looking.
Very cool.
But we don't sell me your don't come to me with it because we have ideas. Like we already have if we we come
Or,
with
by
a
the way,
product name.
a brokers. Did you see them?
We have a product name
many
that we
people
go
have
out and try
pitched
to
you today?
find it, huh?
How many people have pitched you their domains today?
I definitely got. It's like, oh, cool, that's a cool domain, but I don't have we have an idea in a product category and we have a name. We want to go find that specific one. We're not like
Yep.
looking for anything, but yeah.
Well, I really enjoyed the conversation tremendously today. Enjoyed the conference. Appreciate you putting it on. I guess before we bring in Richard and Amir and Braden, any final thoughts, any closing words, anything that you wanted to share with the audience before we let you get out of here?
Yeah, what I like about this industry, domains and also Web3, is that people are so open-minded, right? I think it's really up to us in this economy at this time, this place, especially with this type of tooling available to us. You just gotta lean forward. And I will say one last thing. I think Vibu and I traded some notes early in the morning. America still is a great place to innovate.
Yeah.
I'll say that it's one of the best places out there.
Yep. Vibu, anything we didn't ask you you're hoping to share?
I don't know. I'm just I'm really psyched about this project. I didn't know that much about it a couple months ago, and I think it will be a big deal for the industry. I just tweeted out I think many people have tried to reinvent the domain industry at different times, and it kind of still works the same way it did a long time ago. But yeah, the baskets and tokenization together is maybe the most ambitious thing I've seen in the domain industry, and I'm really hopeful that we can support it from the Solana Foundation.
Yeah, agreed wholeheartedly. Ender, any final thoughts, closing words, anything we didn't ask you?
I think I want to echo what Vibu said. I think for me, it's a pretty pivotal time. There's almost like a change of guard. We're not just bringing the domain industry on chain. We're actually changing how domains work. For the next era, right? And I think it's a pretty ambitious project, but I'm pretty bullish, right, on what we're doing. I do think this is the way every person in America and around the world gets access to the best technology we have built for both hosting, visibility, discovery, anything. So it's a great time to be. It's a great time to build, and it's a great time to be in this economy.
And by the way, a little soundbite, Inder's team executes at lightning speed. It's my second company with him.
Yeah?
Pretty exciting time.
Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, we've got. Never mind. We've got. We'll be rotating them in here. We got Amir, Richard, and Braden joining us. Amar, Richard, and Braden joining us momentarily, and we will continue the conversation. All three of these gentlemen have actually brought a domain on Doma here, and I guess what can you speak
Nice.
to?
Did they bring a domain name to Vibu? That is the question.
Yes, Braden definitely did this year, but
All three of them attempted
got
to
a
sell a domain.
reputation.
All three
Yes.
attempted to sell a domain to Vivu earlier today.
This is what happens in a liquid market. You literally go to conferences
Yeah.
and pitch people your domain
makes sense.
names.
Yeah.
Perfect. Are you? What are you seeing in terms of? I guess are you seeing new domainers as a result of this?
Yeah, I think the younger generation. I mean, we haven't even started talking about bots, and agentic agents buying domain names. It's really exciting to see, the fact that you can hook up a payment protocol to an agent and through a command line start buying domain names. So, I very much align with the fact that these things, as much as you can even go into Lovable or Replit or these or Cloudflare, just click a button next to your app. Instead of having a long page with a blah 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 .site.dev, you want to kind of create a universal anchor right there in the spot. And I think just making that construct and that flow easier is something that I think the younger generation and a lot of these people who are embracing technology are just doing now. I didn't see that 25 years ago when I started in the domain industry. Shoot, 26 years ago. I'm much more of a boomer than you are. You're a junior person compared to me, so that's exciting to see.
Younger generation, you got me thinking next year we'll probably be sitting down here with an AI agent. We'll have registered a bunch of domains, brought a bundle on. The world's just changing so fast.
My Claude will compare notes with his Claude.
Right? Yeah.
for this
You already
meeting.
do.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us today. Really enjoyed the presentation and the sit down with you today. We'll let you enjoy the rest of your day. Don't go anywhere though. We got 3 more gentlemen joining us here just in a few seconds.
Hey, thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. My pleasure. My pleasure. Again, any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to get everything answered. And yeah, if you have any questions for these gentlemen, feel free to fire them in and we'll get them here. We're gonna go around the horn again, just real quick introduction. And feel free to share any background, or if you want to talk about the domain that you've brought on Doma. I know I had Richard on Doma OnAir just a couple weeks ago, launched rides.com. That went off pretty successful, I think. And he, I guess, met your expectations, exceeded your expectations, not quite there. What's your thoughts on the rides.com launch?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been exciting to watch. I think it's just been 3 weeks now, and we've done almost $2 million in trading volume. And yeah, that's taken me by surprise about how much the volume has been and the activity.
That's one thing. I'm glad you said that, because it's I think maybe a level setting for the crypto natives who may not be familiar with the domain world, and I think I'll speak for myself. Our brains kind of got broken when we saw, like, you see a meme coin run up to $1 billion in a matter of weeks, and it's like, then you see a domain that's trading at $68,000. Like, oh, that's nothing noteworthy. But in the domain world, you might have bought this domain for 10 grand, and you sell 20% of it, and it runs up to 68K. That's a big win, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, so with rides, it's we classify it as definitely in the 6 figures. We think the buyout is going to be 2 million plus, and at some point, someone will come along and buy it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of when. And there's a lot of players in the ride-sharing space, and it's a category-defining domain.
It's exciting. Amar, how about yourself? Do you mind sharing a little bit of background and any by way of introduction, anything you'd like to share with the audience today?
Sure. I've been in the business for almost as long as him and longer than him. And so since...
That's right, Grandpa.
And started out in domain monetization. So this is kind of a full circle moment, I think, for me. And, I was in domain monetization, had a marketplace, had an escrow, had a data company. So I've kind of dabbled in all parts of the business. And now I'm just investing. And then recently, maybe in the last year or two, reconnected with Fred. And he started telling me about what they're doing here with D3, and I think it's very interesting. I've been kind of foreseeing that tokenization and fractionalization is going to come at some point. It's here now. As I've been telling everybody, I still think we might be early, but it definitely feels more timely now than it ever has. And so I think it's just a matter of time before everybody sees that vision and gets it, and it makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I feels like, to me, like we are early, but at the same token, I agree with Inder, who just said, like, there's this sense of FOMO, this incredible urge, like it's time to go, because I don't know how much longer we're going to be early, just with the speed of the rate of evolution, how quickly things are moving now. Do you mind sharing? I don't know if we hit what domain did you tokenize?
So I tokenized Boner.
Yeah, I laugh like a 12-year-old every time it gets said. I've heard it a dozen times now. Every time I had to ask.
I mean,
Which one was it again?
Boner. And so it was a domain that Andrew Rosner and I bought together, actually, in auction, and kind of started out as a joke. And then we thought, well, maybe we'd want to launch a meme coin on it. And then when I started talking to Fred, we said, you know what, let's try to launch it on Doma. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we can build some community around it. And that's what we've done. It seems to be going really well so far. It's definitely exceeded our expectations. So, I'm pretty happy. And I think hopefully it's only up and to the right, but who knows? Who knows?
You think this project's got some stamina?
Yeah. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is not financial advice, but I'm bullish.
I had to.
We might just stick on boner jokes the rest of this panel, but for everyone tuned in, if you're one of the things we haven't talked about is these subdomains yet. So if you're dying to get your boner.com subdomain, you can also do that on Doma. Braden, how about yourself? What by way of introduction, anything you'd like to share? And then I'm also curious.
No.
What domain did you tokenize?
Braden Pollock. I've been in the space about 20 years.
So you are the
Amar-
youngest one on the room today.
Not the youngest.
Not the youngest. But I'm a year older than. But he was like Daddy Warbucks when I got here already. He's been around. But I've been in it a long time, almost as long as these guys, and I focus now on the high end, like oneword.coms mostly.
Boner.
Boner. Yeah, I've got no boner.com. But I do own stamina.com.
There we go.
And so I tokenized alert.ai.
And that was here at the conference, right?
Yep, we launched it yesterday.
I saw it looked like pretty good launch, pretty good start to.
Yeah, there's been 6 figures in trading.
That's
last
awesome.
time I checked.
In I guess about 24 hours, right? Maybe even less. Was that yesterday morning? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And it bonded, I think, late last night.
Congrats.
Yeah, so it only took a few hours.
And why? How'd you choose that one of all your domains in your portfolio? What stood out? Why decide to tokenize that one?
Fred told me to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
I put together a list, and the team looked at it, and they wanted to pick something that they thought would appeal to the audience.
Makes
like
sense.
The current traders.
Yeah.
And so Alert is just a good name paired up with AI. So.
We were just talking about in the portfolios, a basket, a bundle on chain. Is that something you're considering? Is there anything else, I guess, that this week that jumped out as that really excited you at the conference? Anything that stood out more than?
Yeah, I mean,
anything
I
else?
liked that almost immediate liquidity, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to borrow against a name, there's various ways to do that, but it takes time and appraisals, and you never get as much as you want, and there's a long-term loan, this long loan term, a 5-year term at a high rate, and this is like immediate.
Yep.
You put up your name, click a couple of buttons, and there's crypto in your wallet. Like it just happens automagically.
What was I'm curious, prior to this, had you had much crypto experience? Had you done much on chain, or was this, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a fair amount of, probably going back 10 years
Okay.
of crypto experience. Not a ton, but I don't actively trade in crypto. I will sell domains in crypto. I'll buy domains in crypto because sometimes the seller wants crypto. So I certainly have done a lot of transactions in crypto, and I hold crypto. But this was unique because I hadn't tokenized one of my assets, and it just happened so fast. You can just watch it happening, and just like selling, and people are buying and selling immediately, and it bonded quickly, and so that was fun.
So what's next? Any plans for whether it be another individual domain or bringing a bundle?
Yeah, I think what I might do is put together a basket of domains, but high value names.
Okay.
So like maybe an 8-figure portfolio, and see how that performs.
Wow. Okay. Amar, how about yourself? Any plans? I mean,
So yeah, I'm pretty excited about the basket opportunity. I do think that's probably more interesting, I think, to more people because you're diversifying risk, right? It's not just a single name. And B, I think it also kind of gives the opportunity for ongoing kind of income for the token holders. So depending on how it's structured. So I think the basket concept makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so I'll be looking at that. It's also a nice way to, as Braden was saying, get some liquidity without having to sell any one individual name, right? So you can kind of borrow against future sales in a sense, is kind of what's happening, I guess.
Or transfer ownership.
yeah.
right? Which is another thing. If you borrow, you have to transfer the name to somebody else, and they have control over it, which I understand, but I don't like doing it.
Sure.
So this is
Sure.
much easier.
Yeah, and then, back to that kind of reducing risk, I think, generally speaking, as long as you're putting in some good names, it's very unlikely that these assets go to zero, right? And I think that was the big problem with, the last, with the meme coins.
Yeah,
and-
99.9% of those are going to zero or have went to zero. And
Right. and-
Rides.com's never going to go to zero.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's another thing that gives me comfort also in terms of, nobody's getting the short end of the stick here,
Yep.
right? Hopefully, right? Like the asset can fluctuate, but it's unlikely to go to zero.
Yep.
And hopefully it, appreciates.
Absolutely.
It's almost like there's these tokens that people are trading, yet it's backstopped by this real world asset
Yep.
that is appreciating in value and
Yeah,
will
it's got a
eventually
real
sell.
floor.
Yeah.
Real floor that we can and will appreciate. And one thing we haven't, I know we touched on the subdomains briefly. You mentioned like Rides.com and this whole sharing economy. One thing we haven't really hit on is like the network effects that you find in crypto, and you have a community of vested individuals who own a piece of this. I know it's early, so probably haven't seen a whole lot yet, but I'm curious, have you seen anything like ideated from the community or someone whether it's a subdomain and they want to build something on Rides.com?
Yeah, not yet. I mean, I think it's still early days, being 3 weeks in. I think Monty was saying that he's got investors.xyz, and they have a lot of subdomains. If you look at the stats on Doma, whereas with Rides, it's just in the hundreds.
I think somebody got boner.rides.com.
But talking about like network effect and community, I think we're looking at putting insane.com onto the Doma platform, and that is something that we would build out the subdomain categories, maybe attaching emails. We'll take a look at what we can do there. But yeah, I think that there's lots of opportunity for community involvement and getting more eyes onto the asset. And so, whether that's insane.com, which would more likely be a long-term community hold, versus rise.com, which is, let's get eyes on it and let's get it sold. I think there's different aspects and different reasons why people want to get involved.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we will. You mentioned stats. I do want to share a few stats here as we start to shift into our next panelist of guests here. But before we let you guys go, we'll go around the horn to each of you.
We're not going.
No, well, fair, fair.
He's got nowhere better to be.
I don't have any place to be.
What haven't we asked you today? What were you hoping to share or talk about with the audience? Any I guess,
Chris,
final
you didn't
words?
ask me about me and how I'm doing.
So how's Braden doing?
I'm good, thanks. We had that panel on AI.com, which
Yep.
was fun to do.
You're a professional. You're setting up this next conversation. I think we have the two of the individuals that were involved in that deal today going to be joining us next.
Oh, I didn't even realize that was next.
I figure you were just setting me up.
Yeah.
The professional segue.
You're welcome.
Very good. Very well done.
That was a fun panel to do.
Yeah. What I know Ender said that was his most surprising thing that was done without escrow. Anything I guess jump out as a surprise or unexpected that you took away from the conference that you weren't necessarily expecting coming into it?
I was really paying attention to the tokenization and the launch, and I just didn't realize how fast people would jump in.
Yeah.
Right, and how quickly the value would increase. Like the Alert.ai tokens went up like 22% within an hour, which was pretty interesting, right? So like anybody that bought it and then sold made 22% on their money in an hour. Where can you get those kind of returns?
And you mentioned earlier, but I want to make sure everyone caught it because it's not like you still have control over Alert.ai. It's like you can still do whatever you want with it. You didn't
still
sell the whole
it,
thing.
yeah.
You sold 20% of the basically the equity.
I control the DNS.
Yeah.
I can point it wherever I want. I can sell the domain. I'm not restricted in anything I can do except for when I sell it, then the token holders get their piece.
Yep.
Which makes perfect sense. So, there's a smart contract and it's at Interstellar, which will control all that. So I can't run off with it. But it's but I got immediate liquidity.
It's great.
Right.
It's great. Richard, anything we didn't ask you today you're hoping to share?
No, I think that it's been a fantastic conference, well attended. As mentioned earlier, the food has been fantastic.
Right.
I ran NamesCon, founded NamesCon here in Vegas.
Food sucked at names.
Yeah, and that was the that was the thing. There was no food. There was no food.
Cheap bastard.
And but I was profitable. and actually, to be fair, the purpose of setting up NamesCon was to as a charity fundraiser for Water School. So shout out to waterschool.com if anyone wants to send crypto donations.
Okay.
Water
cool.
School does accept crypto. But yeah, it's been a fantastically run conference. The staging has been fantastic. I encourage people, get off the couch, come to Vegas next year.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Attend.
Absolutely. Mar?
Yeah, I'll echo that I think the conference has been fantastic. Fred and team really know how to do it right. I'll say also, it was nice that the difference, I think this year from last year, I feel like it became a lot more accessible to more traditional kind of domain investors. Whereas last year, I think there was still quite a divide. I feel like that gap is narrowing a bit, and being here gave me more ideas and more use cases for what the Doma protocol can do. And that's pretty exciting.
I guess before we let you out of here, and maybe if the other of you have anything to add to this, you just made me think for a traditional domainer, a skeptic, crypto's got a negative connotation.
Yeah.
First of all, did any of you feel that way? And if so, what got you over the hurdle? What sort of maybe objections are you hearing from the traditional domainer?
There's a lot of objections, and some of them are well founded. But I think it's more of a lack of full understanding and of what it can be, and I think it's also being associated with some of the previous issues, right? With Web3, and we can't deny Web3 had some issues in the past, right? And so I think what Fred and D3 is trying to do is to address that and try to give people comfort and security, and I think we're on the right path.
Awesome.
One of the pushback that I've gotten from the Web2 domain investors is the tokenization piece. They don't understand why would I want to tokenize? Why do I need to put it on chain and tokenize it? And they think like that's all that happens, and that's not all that happens. What happens is you tokenize it and you can sell off 20%. And there's this pool of buyers that are interested in buying those tokens to resell those tokens for more money, right? The constant trading, and that's where the disconnect is, because that's the Web3 world, and in the Web2 world, we don't do that. Right. So that's the part that they don't understand is you can sell off some small percentage, not lose control. You can still sell the whole thing. It doesn't prevent you from doing that, right? And gain some immediate liquidity. And I think there needs to be some better messaging around that.
Very good. Gentlemen, really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. I
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
hearing
us.
from all of you at the conference today. It was great to meet you in person, and look forward to doing this again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Greatly appreciated. So we got Jeff and John, and I believe Ish Millie is going to join us here briefly. Again, if you got any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll do our best to get it funneled our way before we wrap up and get you out of here. I think John has a hard out here in maybe like 8 to 10 minutes. Is that right?
Yes, he needs to be out of here at 4:40.
Okay. So we'll and then Mark or so, but feel free to grab a seat, and we'll bring in here and talk a little bit about AI.com and more.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome. So appreciate you joining us again. Ish, I know was on the show a couple weeks ago. If you don't mind, I know you got the heart out here in a few minutes.
But I have about 10 minutes.
Do you mind just by way of introduction, sharing a little bit about your background, and and then we'll get into AI.com and anything else you want to talk about today?
No, of course. Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks everyone, Fred and the team, for having me here. My name's Jeff Fisher. I, along with my father, Larry Fisher, run Get Your Domain, which is a premium domain brokerage firm that my dad founded in 1997. He was one of the earliest sort of pioneers of domain names, similar to the three guys you just had on. And in that time, and since that time, we as a firm have been involved in over $600 million of domain transactions. We've sold or been involved, brokered some of the most iconic, domain names that are out there: Messenger.com to Meta, Teams.com to Microsoft, Skincare.com to L'Oreal, Priceless.com to MasterCard, Public.com, Commerce.com, Friend.com, and probably 1,000 plus others. In addition to that, we've been involved in 3 of the 5 largest, public deals of all time: Chat.com, Home.com, and then obviously, of course, AI.com.
Very cool. I want to come back. You talk like these big clients. Is a lot of that, is it inbound? Are they reaching out to you guys? Or you reach out and knocking on doors? Like how does even those relationships come to be?
Yeah, it's a mix of both, right? I mean, when you're selling a premium domain name, sometimes a big client is coming to you, or a big purchaser coming to you and like, hey, we're interested in this. They're either launching a new product or launched a product, or sometimes when we're selling something that we think might be interesting to somebody, we'll start reaching out to them. I mean, it's a mix of both.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned this big AI.com sale, one of the largest, at least public on record. What do you think that helped validate?
I think it helped validate one thing to the average person, the value of domain names. I mean, we know how valuable they are. John's been doing this for a long time, as is my dad and many other people. We know the value they bring and how valuable they are. But I think now the world is starting to see it and opening up to it. And I think it's really powerful when you look at the buyer of the name, right? It's Chris Marszalek, the founder of Crypto.com. He paid, he came out recently and said he paid a little over, I think about $12 million for Crypto.com when he bought that. And now he came out right away and spent, $70 million on AI.com. It tells you he understands what a domain name does for a business and a brand and how it can accelerate that brand. I mean, it's like, we've talked to so many founders and CEOs when they get their exact match brand domain or category killer domain, how it's like adding rocket fuel to the company. I mean, a great domain name, accelerates great companies' growth more than anything else. And so many executives of companies, after they've acquired these names, have come out and said, they're seeing such a better return, 2 or 3 times or more on return on their marketing spend than they were prior with their old domain, and 50 to 100 times on non-paid, like the TV or things that they can't track specifically. So, it's incredible, and I think it just shows you he understands what that does for the business.
Yep.
And also, as a valuation, it's a booster on the valuation of the company. So, I think Gold.com, it was the former company, I forget what it was called, was valued at a certain amount, but then when they bought Gold.com, it was like 100 times
That's
the
wild.
valuation. So, that's pretty crazy that a domain could do all that for you. Things that just that Jeff just said, plus that.
Yeah.
It's it's a lot of things that
Yeah,
a lot of
absolutely.
benefits.
What it does for the brand, and it's just so powerful. What it does for the brand, and creates that authority and legitimacy. I mean, we talked to a founder that bought their exact match category domain, and they were getting calls and phone calls shortly after from the biggest companies in the world wanting to do business with them because they just assumed that they were
instant
experts.
credibility.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
They assumed they were experts, in which they were, but they weren't getting those phone calls before. But now they were getting them just because of that name.
Yeah.
And also the agents, they see the domain as a credible source. That's what I've been hearing is that, the agents are going to view the company differently when it has a premium domain name versus a non-premium domain name from a credibility standpoint.
Yeah, John, on the other side of that AI.com transaction, probably one of the few times outside of the earlier today at the conference that you've had at least of this magnitude, a sale of this size, both the buyer and seller representation. Anything, I guess, to add to what Jeff shared in terms of what do you think this sale of AI.com validated?
Well, I do agree that it validated that domains are worth way more than most people think they're worth. There are people who I've spoke to last year, 5 years ago, throughout my career that have said, "Oh, domains are dead." Domains are dead because the iPhone came out. Domains are dead because
Social media.
Domains are dead,
AI agents.
because there's no more search. Search is out, and now that there's search, you don't need a domain anymore. So you always hear these things. And now they're now there's a conversation has moved to AI. Oh, the AI is gonna kill domains. So there's always that I can go way back in the business world where I remember where when the fax machine came out and people were like, oh, the post office and FedEx are all gonna go out of business, and so I mean, there's always this short-sightedness of things, and I think domains are, seem to be resilient to all those things.
Yep. Yep.
But there's like when we did this AI.com sale, like I got a call from not a call, but I got a call from my best friend and said, "Oh yeah, my wife just said she saw your name that you sold AI.com," and I'm like, and this is like someone who knows nothing about domain names. I think she works at like a jewelry store or something.
Right.
So for the exposure to the industry, I think it really was, a major thing to be able to announce a sale that big with a Super Bowl ad, with, and the fact that like Jeff and I I actually met Jeff in like 2010 or something like that, whenever the conference that we met at in New York was, where we did the first $10 million domain auction at a conference when he was just a young lad.
Yeah.
And so I saw him running around with Larry and stuff. So I know Larry back 21 years, and I've sold Larry some of the names that he's made huge headlines with, and some names that done with Larry I can't talk about, but Larry and I talk on a weekly basis. Now I'm talking to Jeff as well, and there's it just seems like the market is changing to like we used to see a handful of, remember when it was a handful of 7-figure names a year, to now I think you're going to see probably more than a handful of 8-figure sales per year coming up.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's probably my big takeaway from this conference this week is realizing that with this emergence of AI, I think it's the idea of like apps are, I'm not saying they're going away, but not nearly as important, I don't think, as they once were. And as these agents become more and more mainstream, like having a trusted domain is probably going to help you index in these LLMs. A lot of and I think AI.com selling for what it did, it probably just brought more awareness to the masses for that, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think anyone that's worried about, what's going to happen with domains with AI, we're not going to be going on websites or not, but like, look who the biggest buyers of domains are right now, right? These AI companies are raising huge sums of money. They're investing in their brand. They're investing in the domain. And it's just, to me, it's just showing that it's only going to make it more and more powerful.
I think AI just opened up a new chapter in domain investments trajectory. It makes it a more serious asset class. And your sale validated it. And I think you guys did a great job, but the Super Bowl was a huge catalyst in terms of visibility and the buyer. For me, the highlight of the conference was the proximity to people who were doing domain investing at such a high level. I was talking to John earlier, and he was telling me some other names he has, and I was just blown away. And it just shows you this is a real asset class. You have an investment banking background. You're selling domains to people at the top level in business, so it covers the whole full spectrum from a small, medium enterprise to a crypto.com, and it's a huge catalyst in terms of credibility, visibility, marketing, and so many other factors. So this is just a master class of domaining at the highest level. So kudos to you guys.
And I think that's where we've sort of seen this evolve. And I've talked with my dad a lot about this, where 10, 20 years ago, it was more about a negotiation. Somebody was interested in this name and building something out on it. But now it's these large, either established public companies or large private companies or startups, and they have to fit this into their marketing budget. And they understand the importance of it, but they now have to fit it into everything. And now it's turned more in from a conversation of just like a price negotiation to now an education. Hey, this is what's into your marketing spend. This is the returns we've seen from other people we've worked with on your that you're going to get on your LTV to CAC ratios. This is the brand authority it leads, and like working with them to understand that, so that hey, if we spend $5 million on this domain, our marketing budget was only 10, but our marketing efficiency is going to go up 3 times. So you're actually going to get more users because of this domain with that lower budget, because of the authority, right? So I feel like that's shifted. It's a lot of conversations
Those are the
happening.
metrics that validate those type of purchases. When we were talking earlier, you mentioned to me how many billionaires are in your Rolodex and how they all already own domains. Mark Cuban came out and said he owns domains. You've sold so many of them. So it's like the people at the highest level in business appreciate this asset class.
Yeah, most billionaires have their own domain portfolios, and then they have their company domain portfolio.
Correct.
And a a lot of billionaires, they take a domain name and they buy it because they think that it's such a great name they can't pass up on it, or they get it at a price that they think is so great that they can't pass up on it. But when it comes to like selling a huge name like AI.com, Chris knew that as soon as he saw it, he knew what he was going to do with it, or he knew approximately what was going to do with it, where it fit on his roadmap, and he didn't have to get sold on, this is what it's going to do for your advertising budget. This is what it's going to do for your valuation. I think he already automatically knew those things because he went through the system with Crypto.com. He said in the podcast that when he bought Crypto.com for $12 million, that was a third of his whole budget for the whole company.
Wow.
So, and that's
And it paid off tremendously.
Yeah, and it paid off tremendously. And then he bought the naming rights, the stadium with which was, I don't remember the number.
I think it was 700 million for the Staples Center, or the old Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I live right by Crypto.com. It's an LA landmark now, and everyone in LA says Crypto.com when you think of the Lakers. You know what I mean?
yeah, which is amazing, right? So
I know you got to get out of here. Any, I guess, big takeaways, anything that surprised you from the conference, or any, I guess, final closing thoughts, final words for you? Let you
No,
get on your today?
well, first off, thanks again to everyone for having me.
Appreciate your time very much.
No, it was great. I think not a surprise or takeaway, but I think you mentioned earlier the food was fantastic. Every meal was better than the next. But in terms of it, learning more about what Doma is doing and opening up that other liquidity, door to domain holders, I didn't, fully understand all the nuances of it. I understood a bit of it, but coming here and learning about it and hearing about it and hearing how domainers are, some domain investors are using it today to open up that liquidity is really interesting and something to think about, and something to think about as there's clients we work with that want some liquidity on something, but these sale processes can take a long time, and if you want to maximize that value, it takes time to get it done. So it's just good to learn about that and learn that other lever to pull.
Awesome. Well, it was great to connect. Really appreciate your time. Thanks for fitting us in today.
No,
and,
thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Our
See you
pleasure.
guys. Thank
Safe
you.
travels. Thanks again. Ish, I want to come to you before we get Mark in here. Mark's welcome to join us whenever. But as we transition, you've hosted conferences. You've put on conferences. What was your biggest takeaway from Dominion this week?
Oh man, first of all, this has been the best domain conference I've attended, and no pun to anyone else. I actually have a domain conference as well, and I was just taking notes. It's the details, the proximity to people like John and Larry Fisher's son, who just left. Fred, Mark, and the team just went all out. Like, we were eating lobsters and prime rib and all that good stuff, champagne.
The bar has been raised. Like, I'm telling you, if you're hosting a conference, like, you got to bring the heat when it comes to food.
From the details, the networking, and for me, I was always a skeptic. Initially, I was a skeptic of this unlocking liquidity via the blockchain. But being open-minded, this team has sort of like educated me, and I view it as a new lane in terms of monetizing this asset class. And like any other lane, there are pros and cons, but at the very minimum, it's another option. It's a path that wasn't there. I just took a name that I purchased, and I've already earned my acquisition cost, and it's only a day. And that name has been in my portfolio for close to 2 years. So when you extrapolate that over thousands of domain names, and I think it just gets better with the quality of the names. When I was listening to Richard and the other guys earlier, the numbers they're doing, rides.com, these are names that just sit there waiting on a buyer for sometimes decades. So, you can unlock a couple of $100,000, a couple of $1,000, that could yield even more money. So I think it really, really is a great thing you guys are doing. And this conference has been a great, intimate gathering of people that are open-minded. And I see this as the obvious fact that crypto and domain names have a real intersection, and you guys are spearheading that.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you don't mind me. I mean, well, I'll ask. Do you mind if we share, like, we don't have to talk specifics, but earlier I was talking about like level setting on, like, you don't, the domain doesn't need to run up to a $1 billion valuation to make money on it in the domain world. Do you mind sharing what you purchased that domain for?
I don't mind. Everyone knows I'm quite transparent. I purchased Trenches.ai for $1,300. I just cold called the previous owner, and he had a website that I felt was a mismatch for what the relevance of the name was in terms of its cultural relevance in the DGen Web3 world. So we agreed after 2 or 3 days of going back and forth, did the deal through escrow.com. And I own Trenches.io, Trenches.xyz. And I just love that word, trenches. I think it's one of those words that if you know, you know. So, right, well, like we're in the trenches every day, right? So I just thought it was a cool word to own. I'm not a billionaire, but I'm kind of like a kleptomaniac when it comes to certain words. I purchased it for $1,300 and earned $1,600, which I just claimed yesterday from the Bundin.
That's awesome.
And I was looking through the wallet. I think I have $32 or so from the trading volume. So it's not a life-changing thing for me, but the bottom line is I covered my acquisition cost. And some people could go, well, you gave up this much for, that's irrelevant. The bottom line is, this is only going to get better. I'm still learning the whole concept, but the only way you learn is by diving in. And the best domainers in the world are paying attention to this.
Yep.
Right? And, the way I look at things is, why would a Paradigm or a Coinbase Ventures put money behind a narrative if they haven't done their due diligence, right? And I'm seeing them supporting the conference, showing up in person. The guy who invested in Kalshi being here. To me, these are just real signals versus the noise of some guy in India telling me tokenization is not going to work. Those are just narratives that they just spin out of nowhere without doing the due diligence. So this is part of that education process, and this team is very, very top notch. Like it's a concierge service, right? They will walk you through, they'll take you to coffee, and they really, really, walked me through this in a red carpet style, and I'm very grateful. And I look forward to tokenizing many more names.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, congrats on the success. I mean, like you said, it might be life-changing, but to be able to tokenize a domain.
We're buying, what do you call it, a tomahawk off those games. At least you get a dinner, right?
Mark, welcome to the show. Long time coming. I think largely responsible for pulling all this together, but do you mind, for those who haven't got a chance to connect with you yet, just brief introduction, and maybe you and your team, I think, pulled off a tremendous conference. I'm hoping it exceeded your expectations, but after the introduction, like any big surprise takeaways from the conference that you maybe weren't expecting coming into it?
Sure. Mark Trang, I lead marketing for D3. Been a long week. Long few months of planning.
I bet.
A lot of you have been part of it, which is kind of probably the biggest takeaway, right? Is how real this year is compared to past years.
Okay.
This is the 3rd annual Dominion. And I think what sets this year apart is that I think tokenizing and domains and Web3 and crypto, it's not some optional curiosity anymore.
Yep.
Right? We designed this year's experience tailored to the domain owners. Making sure that it's not science fiction, right? So we brought actually a lot of our engineering team on site and to meet a lot of the users, right? And walking them through the actual trading experience, walking them through the app itself, getting people's wallets set up for the first time ever. I thought those were very valuable things that we had to put in place to make sure that, to Ish's point, rolling out the red carpet, right? And this early in, I think, this industry, you have to kind of do the things that don't scale, right? And obviously, we can't do Dominion every week. We do it once a year, but we invested in a lot of the experiences that you can't scale. Right? I think we're really fortunate that this year we had obviously great partners, great speakers, against the backdrop of Bitcoin Vegas, and being that IRL bridge, right? We call ourselves kind of this bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, and then Dominion gets to be that once-a-year physical bridge, right? Meeting the liquidity, meeting the traders. We had a trading competition this year.
Yep. It was awesome.
It was.
And I think those are the things that build trust and confidence, right? And then, of course, seeing people come on stage, launching domains live, extracting money live. it's not science fiction.
Yep. It felt. I mean, I don't. Not to be hyperbolic, but this was my first Dominion. Really enjoyed it. Expectations far exceeded beyond just the food, which was incredible. But
Premium names deserve premium steak.
something, yeah. Wow.
Right.
It just felt like domains, Doma, bringing domains. It just felt like coming off the very recent AI.com big sale. It just felt like domains are having a moment. Like, is that fair to say? Like,
Yep. I think, I mean, internally, we have hats around this. We're trying to make domains great again.
yeah,
And it's this almost overlooked asset.
I agree.
It's not sexy, right? But it's fundamental. And whether AI takes over, how quickly the industry moves, there's a lot of fundamental pieces of internet infrastructure that, whether you're Web 2 or Web 3, it's here to stay, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the powerful part, is unlocking the potential, not just for sales, but for potential utility. We launched products around potential agent parking and agent usage. And I think this is just the beginning.
You said it's not sexy. It's becoming sexier, I think. Like, it's just like
It's having a makeover.
yeah, right.
It's a glow up, right?
Bringing sexy back.
Yeah, right. I mean, it really, like, truly is. Like, bringing domains on chain, it's just unlocking so much more than just, like, previously you could sell your domain, you could maybe build on the domain or park it, right? It's like now it's just unlocks just this whole, array of possibilities and things to do.
I think the utility that Web3 is adding to domains is underrated.
Yeah.
And the visibility, right? Like, there are billions of dollars that were traded with JPEGs, NFTs or whatever. And domains are now true NFTs. Some people say they're the original NFTs, but they really are NFTs.
Yeah.
They can be on chain, they can be wallet addresses, they have all these features. And I look forward to just a new blue ocean of domain investors discovering this amazing asset class, right? So it helps to hear things like AI.com at the very top of the mountain are selling for 70 million. But there's that guy out there that doesn't even know that a domain could be purchased for $10 and sold for $1,000.
Yeah.
And the on-chain component will reveal that to thousands and hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of investors. And I think that's going to make even premium domain names appreciate. Like trenches.com, trenches.ai now has a couple of hundred people that are claiming subdomains.
Yep.
I've never met them, right? But that's a community that's shaping up, right? Monty was one of the forefathers. You started, you were Monty's first employee, right?
I was not his first employee, but I was like one of the first brokers at Moniker when I think Monty had just sold the first $1 million
domain. Yeah, wallstreet.com.
Yeah, I think it was Wall Street, and then right after he sold autos, and then on the right after that there was the first traffic domain auction.
Correct.
Which was basically like a chalkboard with people writing down their names.
Yeah.
And people would go up to it and put down a number for a bid. At the end of the conference, they just awarded the top bid.
Would it be fair to say he's a founding father of the industry?
Yeah, definitely.
He's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of domaining.
Exactly.
Well, he's fully embedded in what Doma is building.
He's a big client, or at least
he was one of the first.
Good client.
Right, right. And from my understanding, investors.xyz, one of his names now has a ton of subdomains.
That's right.
So that's discovering, unlocking a different, use case for domains that was maybe sidelined or underappreciated. These are wallet addresses. We're talking earlier, and we're talking about the power of even subdomains. This unlocks that. So yeah, it's exciting.
So yeah, my impression of the conference when I was first approached by Braden to talk about the domain, the domain sale at AI.com, I was, very much like somewhat skeptical, but I kind of, my mantra is don't, prejudge. I find that when you prejudge, you end up, finding out later that you were wrong to do it. So I said, I looked at the website, I didn't really get it, I saw a lot of questions, and I said, you know what, this could be really something, and I don't want to miss out on it, and this is a good exposure. But yeah, the conference itself, it was really explained to me on a granular level. I still have more questions. 'Cause it seems like the more you learn about the platform and what it can do, it's almost like one of those things that you can't really fully describe in one conversation because it has so many. I think there's a base discussion, like a level 1, and there's a level 2, and then level 3, and I got to the point where like now my questions are very small, and it's like on the much more granular stuff. So a really good overview, and I think I could take it to some of my clients and show them, like, because sometimes I have clients that I put a huge number in front of them. I'm like, nah, I'd rather wait. And they're telling me they need money, and I'm offering them like $850,000 for a domain that's probably not even worth that, and they say, well, I think I can give it a better offer because AI is coming on and this is happening, and so it's really a way for me to give them an off ramp that this is something else you can do. If you don't want to sell it and invest it in NVIDIA, which is what I would suggest you do, why don't you at least make some money, so that if you're complaining about money, at least you can make something as your
great alternative, right?
Great alternative.
Yeah.
And but my impressions about the conference was the food was unbelievable, but every other thing about the conference was really good. The accessibility to the questions being answered, the way the staff was going through and making sure all your questions are answered, giving you a view of how the website works, and walking me through it. Really, pretty fascinating to see.
Yeah, I felt the same. Like the first time I learned of Doma, I was like, oh, I get it. But then every conversation I've had, it's compounding. It's more stacked on. Like, oh, well, I didn't realize that. And then part of it is appreciate you coming. It's hearing from individuals like yourself that bring in just another viewpoint on domains as a whole, and to hear some of the story, even just just that recent description of, oh, you've got clients they've got these high value domains, but they're not quite ready to sell. This is a great alternative for them. They don't have to liquidate the whole thing. They can still keep the lion's share of it, but yet realize some liquidity today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just another conversation to have with them about, obviously parking is not really a good alternative anymore. Not one that, a lot of these domainers were, making $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $100,000 a month on their portfolios. And now that's dried up to almost nothing. And now, there's a sort of this changing of the guard in the domainer group where like the older guys are like, some of the older guys are now in their 60s and 70s, and how much longer are they going to hold on to these domains, and not have any money coming in, so I think what Rick was doing with Beanstalk is something.
Yeah, the Beanstalk challenge.
So there's got to be more creative ways to fill that vacuum that was left behind from parking.
Yeah.
And this, I think an incredible alternative to the right buyer who wants to, get some cash flow on their domain names if they don't want to sell. But a lot of domainers should sell.
Yeah.
when they get the right offer, and that's my job is like, to convince them that this is. Sometimes I feel like I failed a domainer if I couldn't convince them that this was the best offer.
Well, now you've got something else you can convince them. At least check out or explore,
right?
There's
another off ramp for them.
And I think this is only going to evolve. The blockchain enables so much more. There's going to be collateralized lending. I had a couple of Bored Apes, during the NFT days, and I took out loans for almost $500,000 on them.
Yeah.
And it was done in a peer-to-peer setting.
Yep.
And that could be done with domain
Well, you
names.
mentioned collateralized lending. You mentioned like fractionalization. People fractionalize NFTs, but like, what are you gonna do with it? Because here, again,
It's a
talking
real
about
asset.
unlocking so much more, like the tokenization, the fractionalization, and then you can build something with that subdomain. I mean, it really does seem to be like it's just a perfect fit, this intersection of domains and blockchain technology, and I feel like we're just getting started. Is that right, Mario? Is that fair to say? Like, no pressure on you and the Doma team, but I have to imagine that this isn't the end state. Like, there's probably more to come, right?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we're excited about all the things we announced this week. But if you zoom out, like, there's this saying in tech where you underestimate what you can do in a year, but you know, actually you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you actually dramatically underestimate what you can do in 10. Right? And I think we're just in maybe year 1 or 2
Yeah.
of this. And I think our users are pushing us, which is what we want to see. Obviously, there's something valuable, but we're taking all the feedback. That's where kind of the ideas around asset vehicles and portfolio tokens came
Yeah.
from, right? We can't be here launching one name at a time as much as we love Trenches AI, right?
Right.
And so how do we bring on en masse, right, the rest of the internet? 390 million names, give or take.
It's awesome.
And so how do we do that in mass and work with all parts of the industry, right? Whether it's the brokers, the owners, the registrars, registries,
Yeah.
and of course connecting them to the traders, right? The Web3 communities.
And I think this is one of those things where the website can't fully explain all the benefits and all the features and everything that when you look at it, you don't fully understand by just doing a quick
Yeah.
purview or review of the site. You have to actually have a conversation with somebody, or there has to be like maybe a FAQ, you know,
Education.
videos, maybe things like that, because it's not like as simple as most people, you know, from the domain side. I think more from the crypto side, I think they are more educated about understanding the dynamics of it. Where I think on the domain side, it has to really be explained because it's so different than,
Yeah.
you know, especially these guys that are like, you know, anti-crypto, which is,
Right.
you know,
Right.
They're not anti-liquidity.
That's
They're
right.
not anti.
Right,
I was going
right,
to say
right.
that the anti-crypto people just have a false perspective. But once they understand what this can do for their portfolio, then it's a classic case of pumping their bags in crypto. And that's the beautiful thing. It's like this domains are now on chain, and that means so much more than just what is crypto. It's going to drive a lot of curiosity. There's a learning curve on both sides because the crypto guys are not familiar with domains as well. So it's both worlds, you know, coming together, and that synergy is going to unlock a lot.
Yeah.
like the way I got into crypto was that
Someone forced you to accept crypto.
somebody offered me a crypto coin for my domain name, which was at the time a domain name I wasn't even planning to renew, and I said, you know, why not? You know, he said, you set up a Coinbase account and we could do the transaction, and you know, it was like at the time I think it was a $6,000 domain sale, and crypto was around $6,000, so I pretty much got one coin and then I took my initial $6,000 out when it hit like 30,000 or 50,000 or something.
Wow.
And so now it's like, you know, I'm just going to let it ride. Maybe it'll pay for my daughter's wedding or
Heck yeah.
or something else. Or maybe I'll just keep it and I could use it as collateral for a loan. But it gives you a lot of options.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there are platforms like Spaceship that now allow you to get payouts in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So when I have a name that I sold, and my monthly LCO payment, lease to own payment is, you know, they ask me, do you want to pay out in Bitcoin or why? I accept it in Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin fluctuates, but it's a great way to, you know, transfer wealth. Like I'm taking a domain name that I picked up, sold it for a high margin, and paid monthly in crypto. And over time, now you can turn domains into crypto assets, like you explained.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people do not connect those dots, but there's so much proximity between crypto and domains. They're both digital assets, and you know, crypto is not going anywhere.
Yep.
It almost seems like it's a very similar type of investor
Correct.
class that understands
Right.
both sides. And so even though the conversation, as I mentioned, I think is a little more difficult for the domainer, the average domainer, they kind of understand it if you sit them down and walk them through it because of their experience with domains and you know, an asset that is not a physical asset.
Yeah. Well, Selfish Shill, if they have questions, send them to Doma on Air. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll continue this series to help educate them out, both on the domainer side and the crypto side. You know, one thing I know we gave the food a lot of shout outs. Every person here has complimented the food. We also, the merch, pretty high quality merch. I see your Domain Daddy shirt. You mentioned the
Yeah, we're all
anti-liquidity
domain
liquidity
daddies.
cub.
So when I get back to LA, I'm the local domain daddy. Call me if you need anything. He's a domain daddy in Southern Florida, a domain legend.
There's a lot of domain daddies in Southern Florida.
Any I guess, Ish, before we get you out of here, we'll go back to John and then Mark for closing comments. But any final takeaways from the conference? Any final words or
I'm
thing
already
you want to
looking
share?
forward to the next one. I
Same.
think the numbers are starting to take shape. I read that you've done over $70 million in trading volume. To me, that's no longer a concept. That's momentum. That's traction. And it's just the beginning. And, now I get it why you guys raised how much you did, because this concept is now taking shape. And, kudos to the team for having the vision and the guts to execute it. And I want to stay close to this one. I feel like, back in the 90s, people were hand registering domain names, and that opportunity will never come back. And we're now at an inflection point where, because the crypto domains are taking a new shape, we said they're getting sexier, but they're opening an opportunity for people to build a lot of wealth, and I don't take that for granted.
Yep.
Yeah, domains are real. They've definitely made a huge impact in my life. I just came into domaining in 2020 during the pandemic, and it's a nice community, but it's bigger than the community.
Yep.
And it's a real asset class, and I'm excited just to see it go from this underground. I know Larry, I've known him for 30 years. I don't know these guys. So you don't need to know anyone to participate in the wealth transfer.
I think that's important for people to hear, though, because I registered domains before, but I wasn't in the domain industry.
Yeah,
right?
there's
And
an
a lot of
industry, there's
people
a
we've talked
there's-
these godfathers, these forefathers of domains,
Right.
but Doma and Dominion helps connect those of us that are newer to the
Correct.
domain industry to legends in the space like John. And I think that's powerful. That's important. Like, while the sessions were great, the speakers were great, it's really this sort of stuff and getting able to John and Monty and Richard and all these
Proximity,
domain legends.
correct.
It's you can't, like, having those in real life connections is priceless, in my opinion. It's a
Right,
great point.
right.
John, any final thoughts, any closing words, any grand takeaways from the conference this week?
Just that, like I said, like coming in, I maybe had some reservations, but I was like totally open-minded, and I feel like all my questions have been answered. So, I think it was just an all-around great conference. I thought the panels were really good. I thought that the organizers did a great job of setting everything up, and I think that I didn't know that this was the third one. I thought this was the first one, so that kind of shows you where we're at. That it's gotten more mainstream. That that it's bringing together the domain side and the crypto side more than just I guess whatever you were doing in the first and second year. It's definitely built upon that, and I think that even some of my conversations before coming here, I was just like, hey, I'm going. I don't know if it's just going to be good for me to promote the AI.com sale and I'll get some leads out of it, or if I'm actually going to learn some things. And I said, hopefully I'll do both. I'll learn some things, and I can take it and use it and incorporate it to my conversations, or I'll just say this was a good idea, but probably not something I can do anything with. But it's definitely something I think that is, something I can bring to my customers, my clients, especially the ones that, are looking for ways to bring in some monthly revenue that, will help them pay the bills and keep the lights on and do all those types of things.
Great to hear. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you. Really appreciate your time. You as well, Ish. Mark, Ish mentioned over 70 million. I just checked over 79. Might be 80 by the time we're done wrapping up this conference or this Doma on Air today. Any final words? I hope the conference met your expectations, maybe exceeded it, but any unexpected takeaways from the conference this week? Any final thoughts and closing words in general?
I think we made a lot of big bets, right? This year. We didn't know exactly how they would take shape and pay off. I think a lot of them did. And then the surprising thing is actually how close Web 2 and Web 3 are.
Yeah.
Right? We've talked about them kind of as these generationally different, culturally different communities. And I really think we're much closer.
Yep.
Being the bridge between both the technical bridge and then this year the event being the IRL bridge, seeing the interactions, seeing the trust, that's what it's all about. Right? I wish we can, I'm not tell the events team this. I wish we could do this every week. The amount of like the high fidelity feedback that we get about the product, the trading competition, right? Seeing like these highly sophisticated DeFi traders actually trade the assets that are owned by people in the room, and the light bulbs and the actual interaction afterwards is priceless. Right? And then my ask from the community and all the viewers is keep pushing us. Give us the feedback. Let us know what education we need to deliver. How do we keep this community going, right? Because it's not just two distant communities that are kind of suspicious, kind of sitting on the sideline. I think this year everyone leaned in, got their hands on, in some cases, real money. In some cases, some prizes, some good steak, all right, some oysters. And so how do we kind of continue this magic until next year?
Yeah, well, I host the Daily Show. I've interviewed quite literally hundreds of crypto native founders, and I'm really, truly appreciative of the opportunity, grateful to be here. And I just to add to that, I think what Doma is doing is really pushing not just the domain industry forward, but the crypto industry forward. It's refreshing to work with a team of professionals that are bringing in other experts and professionals into this space, and it's real substance, right? It's not just, no offense to the meme coiners out there, but it's something. It's a real world asset that's existed for decades, and you're unlocking new capabilities with the blockchain technology. And I think it's something that not only is going to push the domain industry forward, but I think other professionals and other industries are going to see what's happening here, and it's going to bring them on chain as well. So thank you for being a leader and pushing two industries forward with all that you're doing here.
One other thing that I would just add is that, like, I was really impressed with some of your hires, some of the people you brought on, like Wesley and Geraldo, and some of the younger guys that this stuff is like, they really they could explain it to anybody, and it's just impressive to see the young guys. They can do. They're growing up in a different world than I grew up in, and they're seeing the things. And taking advantage, like all this like AI stuff that's going on. There's this big gap that people talk about between, like, you could walk down Wilshire Boulevard or Broadway and walk into any place and say, hey, I can AI your business and make it so that you'll get better results, you'll be more efficient, all your customer service will be handled, your website will look beautiful, it'll do all your social media for you. And these guys, these younger guys already know how to do all that. And, and that's being taught now at a probably high school level.
Yep.
It's a different world.
Yeah.
The domains are not going anywhere. I think domains are just appreciated in value because of blockchain, and you guys are executing it. It's one thing for something to be a theory, but to take a theory and actually put energy behind it and get momentum, transaction volume, 80 million, it's going to be 1 billion. This is how, to do things. It's just for me, it's been a masterclass in just what's possible.
Yep.
I've always knew this concept existed, but to see a team come together and connect the dots and execute, it's very impressive.
Absolutely.
I think now you guys just have to get like a big enough lead before any competition comes in. Because ultimately that's going to happen, once you get a really successful launch. People say, what are they doing? Why are,
It's exciting
why
time.
aren't we doing that?
I think we're very, like, the foundation's here, but it still feels very early, and opportunities galore. And we'll expand on this in a couple of weeks on the next Doma OnAir. Definitely, I don't know when it'll be, but don't miss Dominion 2027. I think it was an eye opener for me, and really, while I was excited about the space and excited about what Doma was building, this was several aha moments this week that just kind of leveled it up for me. And I don't think I was thinking big enough. But Mark, thanks to you and the team, and just a wonderful conference. I've been to hundreds of conferences, and this was right up there on the short list of the best. So greatly appreciate it.
Thanks for all the amazing support from our community. Like, this is for you, right? This is not an event that we do for ourselves. It's really for our users, our partners, folks that are new. Maybe we're curious, but now we're much stronger as a community.
I think I'm the new one. He's the veteran.
Well, you're not really new anymore.
Yep.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks again. Best Doma on air. We'll be back in a couple weeks. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
Buying domains was low, Doma changing the game. One bridge, one standard, now the systems move the same. Registrar stay central, keep the trust and control. DNS and compliance, still they play the key role. Traded on chain, let new markets arise. Domain value unlocked. Welcome to Domain Fi.